that a little bit more. There's a requirement with the Nampa Meridian Irrigation District is they have a 50-foot easement from the center line of the Rodenbach Canal at the bank. And one of the items with the project is to get the additional crossing, or both the crossings, we were looking at getting access along the top of the bank on the park side for maintenance along the canal.
So how far does the fence get pushed in?
So roughly it's about 20 feet.
20 feet from where the current fence sits?
Yes.
And all the trees between that 20 feet and the canal would be gone? Or would the trees from the fence line out to make way for the bike path would also be gone? Like I'm trying to visualize on the green space and shade is
All
gonna
of
be
that on the other side of the fence.
Might be easier to say which one, point to which ones stay.
Yeah. Is there a plan to replace them?
Is there what? I'm
A
sorry.
plan to replant and replace trees?
I'm not aware if it is, unless the Parks Department has a plan for replanting the trees. Again, that's a requirement that the Nampa Meridian is putting on the project to allow for the bridge crossings.
So I'm Elaine Clay, I'm City Council President. Many of you know I care a lot about trees. I have a tree initiative currently. I believe that there's a way to mitigate this without the loss of trees. I don't know if we're going to be successful, but I'm certainly going to try. If that doesn't come to fruition for some reason, I can guarantee you that I will make sure that we replant those trees. I know that doesn't replace a mature tree, but I do believe that we can at least have a deeper conversation with Nampa Meridian about that tree removal, as they apparently don't use that access today, so we're trying to understand why they need it in the future. So while ACHD has to do this plan because, you know, they have to figure out what they can actually get done, I can tell you from the city's perspective, I'm going to give it a shot to meet with them and see why that is their position.
No guarantee they're gonna stay in.
So I'm, did you have your hand
See what
up?
another board is going to vote on. I wish I could.
So the canal company owns that land behind the fence, and they own part of the land in front of the fence, correct? And they have a right to take out those trees, and I love those trees. Everybody loves a tree. And I walk back there with my dog all the time and feed the squirrels, but there's a lot of dead growth in there, and it's dangerous. The tree limbs that come out of there are huge and could knock kids on the head. And if we got rid of the jumpy trees and replaced them with nice trees, I think it would be a benefit for the park. And, you know, the canal people, they have to clean up all the branches from the dead branches that are falling from those trees into the canal. And it's labor intensive to keep up with it. I don't know how many people have seen when they took out the trees, what was the last bit of work they did back there? But they left all the logs, and anybody who wanted some firewood, take their truck down there and get some wood. So there's gonna be a benefit from getting rid of half-dead junky trees and putting in a beautiful flight path for our children and us to enjoy, and it will enhance our entire community. And I just hope that having, you know, those aren't our trees to save. They're not on our land. It's not up to us. It's the canal people going on. And if you're sad about the trees going, then once the project gets done, we'll plant some more trees. How hard can that be?
Yeah.
So if you have trees on your land they're gonna remove, you'd be a little grumpy about that, wouldn't you?
Well, it's not my land, it's
But
their
if
land.
you know it is
Yes, it is. All this land that's
It's
behind
an
the
easement,
fence
it's an
is
easement.
theirs.
They have an easement, like, it's the electric light switch where they're putting that first bridge across, that's not 50-foot center line, is it?
All right, we don't want to have an argument here. We want to make sure we're not cross-talking either. So one person at a time. We want to make sure everyone gets a chance to have a say. The gentleman here, you had your hand up to say.
I wasn't going to talk, but I can address the tree issue along the Rodenbach Canal.
My name's Greg Curtis, I'm the district's water superintendent. I've been to many of these meetings over the past 3 years trying to help understand what's trying to get done here. Nampa Meridian Irrigation District acquired the Reidenbach Canal in 1905. How things changed in 100 and some years, but when they acquired it, they did not record the deeds to the property. That's where they made a mistake. Everybody moved as close to a water source in this valley as they could, so everybody crowded the ditch. My frustration for the irrigation district, we delivered to 69,000 acres in the Treasure Valley. Some of this water goes clear in the Caldwell and beyond, the other side of Lake Lowell. This section of the Reidenbach Canal through here, where we have every place else where we have a canal, we at least have a maintenance road on one side that we can do some work from. This section we haven't had for a long time, and the park fence is crowding that easement to where the only way we can do any maintenance of the canal through there is when the canal's empty from the bottom of the canal. I wouldn't be surprised at all if some of you have called me and said, your tree is laying on our fence, or it's on our house. I have way too many frustrating conversations. We have no room to maintain them trees. The only way we can take them down is with our equipment. If we can make a cut at the bottom and they fall into the canal, if we're going either way, we're sorry, it's your property technically, because you've crowded us so long. And so when they start talking about this, first we start talking with the city of Boise. This comes up about every 8 years. My predecessor said this electric light switch pathway and bridge pops up about every 8 years. I've held this position for the last 10 years, and so this was my first time dealing with trying to get something going on the electric light switch. And then the Ada County Highway District approaches us with another possible bridge. So within 400 feet, you're talking about 2 obstacles that was never there before. And so if we jump in the bottom of the canal, and now we can't get the prices to build a bridge tall enough for our equipment to go under were astronomical. They said, Greg, this isn't going to work. We don't have the funding. What can we do? Because they was going to make them tall enough so we could drive under, but they couldn't afford it. But to come out of the canal, back into the canal, back out of the canal, back in with our equipment, it's just, we haul these things around on a huge lowboy trailer. It's hard as heck to find any room in town anymore to unload, let alone do what we need to do to access the canal. And so we started talking about, I appreciate what you said, a lot of them trees are dying. They fall into the canal every year. My guys have to cut them loose, float them down to the next bridge, and then we're standing out in the middle of the intersection with our backhoe trying to get them out of the canal. Please understand the district's, what we're trying to accomplish here is just to get back some of our maintenance access, at least on one side of the canal. A lot of them trees are junky trees. I heard some things that's not quite right. We're not asking for 20 feet beyond the fence. We're going from the edge of the water, we're asking for 20 feet from the edge of the water to where the fence will get moved, I believe, about 8 to 10 feet at the most. There's been some other things brought up about there's a memorial bench out here that's in somebody's name. I'm very respectful of that. They asked, can we shift that fence over and squeeze you to 16 feet? 16 feet's about all, it takes that much room for that big excavator to turn and have some swing. That's the ultimate lease. The district says, yes, I will go to the board of directors and promote that. So the district has been negotiating, trying to make this as easy as we can. We know trees are a huge issue, but they're a huge issue for us for all the negatives, because they fall in the canal, they fall on the park fence, they fall on the neighboring property. I agree with what was said. I surely hope everybody can look past all them junky trees right on the edge of the canal, do something on the park side. We just want to be able for, the district been around for over 100 years. If we can get this back, we'll be able to maintain that section of the canal a lot better than we ever have before. And it's also, this is addressing a safety concern of the district. I've been up there with Channel 6 at the head of the farmers right up here by the tennis courts. I know a lot of people walk across that. I was doing a safety commercial last year with Channel 6. We put up a sign there saying, "You're trespassing, please don't." We spend thousands of dollars on safety commercials for waterways. As I was doing that commercial in a half hour, 12 people come across and said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Ironically, we're shooting the canal safety video." So these two bridges that the city of Boise and Ada County are promoting will help them. Now, I understand there's some other issues, but please don't let the hangup of this be in losing, in my opinion, some really junky trees on that side of the fence. We need to stabilize that canal. It's getting wider every year. But I have no means to haul rock and riprap in there to get it narrowed back up like it should be. And so it's hitting each side and going back and forth and meandering, keeps getting wider and wider.
I can see your point, and my question is, would it be better for the district to have just the one crossing at Captain? Because your equipment, you said, was really difficult for you to get under a couple of bridges. Wouldn't it be better to just have the one?
I'm not gonna debate whether it's one or two. I'm just here really hoping, because it's a huge win for the taxpayer. I represent over 100,000 taxpayers in our district. Like I said, we go clear to Caldwell, largest irrigation district in the state of Idaho. We're dealing with all this growth. Everybody wants us to mow and to spray and do all these things because everybody's moved into our waterways now. But it frustrates me that every winter I know I have to come in here and work from the bottom of the canal. If I can do some maintenance in the summertime, that's why we really need that access back along one side. I'm not asking for it on both sides. I'd probably get fired by my director if they heard me say that, but I'm just trying to get an access point from one side of the canal. And then we can go through there, we can mow it, we can spray it, we can maintain it, keep the noxious weeds down and everything. But right now, all I can do is go up to the head of the farmers and then make a 4-point turn and come back out.
But you did say it was a big challenge getting underneath the bridges with your equipment.
Yes.
Yeah.
And for the original design, when I asked them to elevate them so we could get underneath, the price went
It was
through the
very
roof.
expensive, yeah, okay.
Through the roof. But then I also, if the expectation is to come in and out 4 times to get around these bridges, that's unreasonable too. And hopefully you can see it from the irrigation standpoint. I don't hate trees, but trees are our #1 call and complaint with all these thunderstorms we've had, especially this year. Every time we have a thunderstorm rip through Boise, I have to send guys up here for a week solid, hauling, getting them to float down to a bridge, and then we got a backhoe in the middle of a busy road trying to pull them out at the bridge, and I don't think that's fair to the district.
Are there,
Oh, yeah,
is there
sorry.
a question?
So regardless, if the bridges go in, are you going to still get that access? Because it sounds like you need it.
I would like to get it no matter what. This just preempted it. It just, this is an interesting year. We started off with an earthquake and now with COVID. I've been trying to keep employees just like, my employees are going, "We're essential, shouldn't we get paid more?" All this goofiness this year. But trying to find time to take down what we're talking about all in one shot. I don't have a boom truck. I don't have the equipment like the guys who they're talking about have them remove them. It'll be a lot cleaner. If we come in and take those trees down, I've got to insist, because whatever's reasonable and necessary is what state law really says. I'm saying you give me 20 feet top of bank, I can make it work if there's no trees in it. But the day will come where somebody will sue the district and they're successful. And my bosses will say, "Greg, take every one of them trees," and it's in statute, we can. And like I said, I don't hate trees. But then my equipment, we cut them at the bottom, they fall. If they fall out into the park 150 feet, I'm gonna say, sorry, that's what was reasonable and necessary.
So for this project, it's going to be a better project for the neighborhood than if you were to just come in and do
I
it.
think you will have a lot cleaner. Is there anybody here that gets water out of tap 62 on the farmers?
We're New York up there.
But anyway, there's a buried pipeline there that all them trees and along the canal are growing into their pipeline, and they spend hundreds of dollars every year to auger that out. Put the trees in the park where they belong.
Are there any more questions for ACHG?
When you, go ahead and clear that and put the roadway next to the canal, how are you gonna keep kids from locking up that roadway and swimming in the canal? Where now they have to go across the fence and through all that junk, but now you've got a road and kids are gonna swim in there.
I don't wanna talk to Brian, but Brian has designed the bridge. One of our requirements was that somebody couldn't jump off the side.
No, I meant for the road.
I know.
Okay.
So we first looked at the bridge, and we have a requirement that somebody can't tie their boogie board off to the side, jump off and boogie board, because I've seen them doing it up here in the farmers. I've been called out here on weekends to get out there. But then the fence goes back up as well, too. So you'll have your pathway, there's the fence, and then our maintenance road. And so it should be all fenced off. They're talking about gates, so we can get through them, they're for our access, but we will have gates we'll have to open to get across where those, if the bridge is
So
built.
actual chain link kind of gates?
Brian, am I correct?
Yeah, you are correct, and I think I did misspeak earlier, it's, when I said 20 feet, that's 20 feet from the top of the bank, not the existing fence locations, Greg pointed out. And we are proposing gates along the access road that will gate off, from the park to the top of the bank for the maintenance road. Sure.
Just one more brief question. Why is this particular bridge so important when you can see where the roundabout is right there for Cassius Street? When there's actually a road to go here that is straight through from, you know, an easy place.
Yeah, well, so going back 3 years now, there was a concept study done on the entire Tasha Bikeway project. And with that, with public feedback, and including this most recent open house that we had in January, this bridge connection was one of the most popular items that people commented on in support of and wanting to get that connection through the park. It was by far the most popular element of the project.
So out of the 5,000 people that live in the bench, how many people made a comment?
I don't have the exact number with me right now, but I believe there was 100 plus people that provided comments, and almost half of those were in favor of having that bridge crossing. It was definitely the most popular feature of the project.
What about the residents that live on the Rhinebaugh side over there? How are they handling that road? I know there's a trailer kind of on a triangle plot down there. How's that all coming together?
Well, there's one of the
I'm
residents
talking
here.
along the Rhinebaugh on that side, on this side.
I have not spoken to every property owner on the other side of the Rhinebaugh Canal. We've been focusing on this side.
Well, on this side, on the Cassia Park side. I think there's like, you know, what, 6 houses over there? Have you been speaking with them?
I have not spoken directly with anyone there. And if anyone is here that lives in that area, I'd be happy to talk with you after the meeting.
Mr. Curtis, have you guys, how's your easement situation over there?
Say that again?
Have you spoken, like when your access road goes down the Rhinebaugh, it'll go behind their houses, correct?
Right now, it stops at the cul-de-sac.
Okay, so
Right now,
that's
it
where
stops
the
at
road
the-
will stop
It
as
stops
well.
at the cul-de-sac.
Okay, I understand.
All right. Any more questions for Brian from ACHG?
Well, let me just get this right. So your maintenance access road will be on this side of the canal where the park is, all the way up to where?
From the farmer's lateral to that cul-de-sac is all we're
All right,
talking about.
where's the farmer's lateral?
The other side of the tennis courts.
Okay, where there's like a current sort of bridge that goes across from,
Well, it's a check structure that we really don't want people
Right, right.
crossing.
Is that where one of the bridges is going? Because you're putting another one straight across to the maintenance road on where the electric light switch is, right?
They're only about 400 feet apart, if I remember
So
correctly.
you're putting it
In the
to,
corner.
I've only seen,
It's two separate entities.
yeah, I didn't even know the rest of this project was going. I live along the electric light switch. What's the center line from there? Because I have a building and a concrete wall that's a little bit farther than my neighbor's like chain link fences, and I'm just trying to figure out, like really if I'm like really losing property.
Well, and I can come talk to you about that right
Okay,
now.
all right, yeah, I don't want
Exactly.
to down with everyone else, so.
All right, so with that, if anybody needs to have a break, get some water, please, again, stay hydrated. And Brian, thank you so much for coming. Sounds like you made it around. The next up is we are going to talk about the Kasha Garden Bike. I have to read, sorry. There's too much going on. So I'm going to hand it over to you guys. And yeah, so let them have the presentation, and then we'll open it up again to Q&A. Thank you, everyone.
So my name is Zach Niemeyer. I'm a transportation planner with the city of Boise. This is Tom Laws, also with the city of Boise. Just to kind of set the stage, so this project is completely separate from the ACAT project that Brian just spoke about. It's funded separately. It's being designed somewhat separately. If you have questions about the interrelationship to the Kasha Bike, where we can talk about that. We're really just going to focus on the north-south connection coming out of the park here. There's a little vicinity map shown here. So Kasha Bikeway was the orange line down here, and then the electric light switch lateral runs north and south, and so this Kasha Garden connection just parallels that up to Albion Street from the park. So the project components is a 10-foot wide multi-use pathway, very similar to the Greenbelt. It'll be made out of concrete. It's in an unopened ACHD right-of-way for the most part. It extends from the park up to Albion. It does have a bridge over the Reidenbach, so just a few feet, like Greg was mentioning, it's a few hundred feet from the Kasha Bikeway Bridge. There'll be another bridge pointed that way. And then the two paths will intersect just on the north side of the park where these folks are practicing martial arts up here. It does have, to date, our understanding is that the only way we can have this pathway built is if we pipe that electric light switch laterally. And that's an ongoing discussion we're having with ACHD and MID. But that's our understanding today, so that's why we've assumed going forward that we would have to pipe it. And what that really entails on this side, if you look at this diagram, the pathway is the yellow line, or the yellow polygon, and then the canal or lateral is the pink.
So you're gonna take out the dam? So it's
The
still
linear structure, it would be replaced. It would be replaced.
yeah, but there's a 6-foot drop, or like an 8-foot drop, it's actually got a dam in the middle, it's the original power line.
That check structure would be replaced, yes.
If we can let the presentation finish up, then we can keep going, okay? Thank you.
So today, we have only completed preliminary design. ACHD is much further along. They're moving into construction starting, I think in November is when they're planning on bid this. We're just at preliminary design. We basically hired a consultant to come up with concept level line work to show where's the electric light switch, where could a pathway be, and where does the private property start and end. And so that's what we just received in the last couple weeks. They also gave us a preliminary cost estimate, which came back much higher than we were anticipating. Right now, we only have about $250,000 budgeted for this project.